Hello students, I'm Robel Tesfaye, an English instructor at Kelebawiyan International Academy, and this is a revision program for grade 12 students. Today, we'll try to give you some tips that would help you for the reading and writing section of the National Entrance Exam. Stay with us. The contents for today's on this slide, we have question types, have the amount and the ratio of each content, tips and strategies that would explain the example questions and how you can deal with such type of questions. And when needed, there is a practice question, additional practice questions, especially on the writing parts. The objective of this lesson is to list all the contents, to provide strategies and tips, give an example on the major contents with brief explanation. Basically, today we're dealing with the reading and the writing section of the exam. Now, for instance, let's take the 2011 exam content. In that content, there are 34 communicative activities which deal with dialogues and conversations. It takes 28.3% of the whole mark. Grammar takes 26 questions and it's 21.7%. The writing section is 21 questions with 17.5. Vocabulary takes 16 questions and it is 13.3% of the whole. Reading comprehension has 14 questions. Word order 5. Paragraph coherence 4. So this is an example, but in some cases the vocabulary might take the most of the questions. In some years there's a writing taking up about 30 questions. This is just for an example. Okay, now let's start with the reading section. Reading comprehension deals with these 5 major contents. The question might focus on main idea, author's purpose and intention, inference and deduction, contextual meaning, pronoun references. Now let's take a look at them one by one. Dealing with main ideas. Main idea is the central point about a topic or subject. Basically, the topic sentences are the main ideas of each paragraph. Now, when you deal with main idea question, always think about what the topic is. What is it talking about? What is listed about the topic? That means every listing or discussions that we have in each paragraph. What do the major details have in common? Now, details are explanations, examples in the passage. So what do they have in common? That might lead you to the main idea. This is an example for main idea questions. Now, take a time and read. Now, one common example of instinct is the spider spinning of its intricate web. No one teaches a spider how to spin. It is inborn instinct alone to accomplish the task. Another example of instinctive behavior is the salmon's struggle to swim upstream to lay eggs. It would be much easier for the salmon to follow the current downstream, but instinct overrides all other considerations. Instinct is clearly a strong influence on animal behavior. What is the main idea? Now in this case, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 are all explanations. They give you facts, they give you examples, but the fifth talks about defines instinct. It declares that it's clearly a strong influence on animal behavior. So that D would be the main idea of this example. Now let's go to inference. Inference questions ask for implied meaning. In the exam, you might see that you might be asked with phrases like, what does the author implies about? What can be inferred from paragraph 5? You don't get direct answer from the passage. Rather, you're expected to draw conclusion from the story or the passage. Now, for example, let's read this part. People are always less happy to accept scientific data. They feel contradicted their preconceived beliefs. No surprise here. No human like to be wrong, but science isn't supposed to care about preconceived notions. Science, at least good science, tells us about the world as it is and not as some wish it to be. Sometimes what science finds is consistent with a particular religion's wishes, but usually it's not. What can be understood about good science? Select from the given option. Now option A, good science is well received by educated people. Good science is based on concrete results obtained through testing the hypothesis. A good science and religion are same. A good science will always prove the general populace wrong. Now, we can see that all these options try to draw conclusions, but as you can see, we can see that A cannot be an answer because it's not about educated people accepting good science, but it is about the nature of science, what nature does and how it works. So B would be our answer because it talks about science is based on concrete results obtained through testing and hypothesis. And as you can see, the paragraph deals with this. It doesn't try to relate science with religion, and it doesn't say it's totally they follow the same way. So B would be the most appropriate inferred or drawn conclusion from the passage. The last one, D, talks about a good science will always prove the general populace wrong. This is totally out of context. Now, pronoun references. In pronoun reference question, it's normally about pronouns in the sentence and you're asked whether they refer to a certain noun, subject, and you try to decide. This gets difficult when the sentence is complex. Now let's take a look. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution is known as one of the most important and controversial scientific theory ever published. Natural selection contributes to the basis of Darwin's theory of evolution. One of the core tenets of Darwin's theory is that more offspring are always produced for a species that can possibly survive, yet no two offsprings are perfectly alike. As a result, through random mutation and genetic drift, over time, beneficial traits and characters that promote survival will be kept in the gene pool, while those that harm survival will be selected against. Therefore, this natural selection ensures that a species gradually improves itself over an extended duration of time. On the other hand, as a species continues to improve itself, it branches out to create entirely new species that are no longer capable of reproducing together. Questions. The word dos in paragraph 1 refers to A. Gene pool, B. Survival, C. Natural selection, D. Trait character. Now let's take a look at that word in the previous section of this paragraph. Now here at the last line you can see the gene pool, while those that harm survival will be selected against. Now what is those referring to? Now to answer this question you have to look at this sentence. If needed, you have to go back to the middle of the paragraph and try to see what the context is and what this pronoun is referring to. Now let's take a look at the whole sentence. Over time, beneficial traits and characteristics that promote survival will be kept in the gene. Now here the subject is beneficial traits and characteristics. Now we have to focus on that, while those that harm survival will be selected against. Now there are two sections. The traits and the characters are divided into two. Those that harm survival will be selected. Those that promote survival will be kept. Now these are the two characteristics and traits. Now the question, look at it. A. Gene pool. Obviously it's not about gene pool, it is about characteristics. Survival, we're not dealing with survival. Of course it's the survival we're talking about, but the two parts, those refers to those two characteristic categories. Natural selection, traits, characteristics. Now D exactly mentions the characteristics, so those refers to traits and characteristics. Purpose questions. This type of question requires you to understand why the author has included piece of information. Now, when we talk about purpose, we have three purposes in writing. Either it's to entertain, or to inform, or to describe. Purpose questions mostly ask you the intention of the authors when writing the story. Now, let's say for instance, if you're reading instructions, that's to inform you. Now, if you're reading fiction books and other stories, that might serve as entertainment. Now, that's the purpose of the author. Now, the questions mostly come like, why does the author mentioned in paragraph 2? Like, he might mention something and you would be asked about the purpose of the author mentioning that word. So far we have seen the major parts of the reading section. Now let's go to the writing section. Now this is the other part that we try to explain. It's the writing section. There are 4 major types of writing which are asked in the entrance exam. These major types of writings would be asked either about their nature, or you might be given a sentence and you'd be asked what type of writing is this. You try to decide from those 4. Your choices are 4. Let's see. Now the first one is narrative, or sometimes we call it telling a story. Now narrative writings by nature, they talk about experiences, and it's common that they use chronology or they use time sequence to tell a story. Now the writer, sometimes they tell real life experiences. It might seem easy, but trying to keep the chronology of the story might get difficult. So you can tell that when one follows a sequence of action or chronology, like starting from background and present and then the future, you can tell that he's telling a story or it's a narrative writing. Usually it's written in a first person because when one tells a story, he might say I, so that's the first person pronoun. Now descriptive or painting a picture, this is a closer type of narrative type of writing, but descriptive writing is that you get to have a vivid picture of what is being talked in the writing. Now you try to paint a picture in your brain while you read. The words mostly describe people, place, and objects. Now in descriptive essay, it tries to communicate a deeper meaning. It's not only describing objects and people, but rather in description he tries to give a certain point of view, attitude that the author wants you to put in your mind as you read. Now description matters. He can describe, paint the picture in a nice way or in a darker or any other different way. Now this basically appeals to the reader's emotion because your emotions tell you to paint a picture in mind. The third is expository, just fact. There is no artistic value or aim of this type of writing. This is mostly used in academic writing. You can take all the books that you have in high school, biology, chemistry, physics, or you can take all the language classes. When the books talk about the rules, the do's and don'ts, the classifications, all the academic writings, you can see that it's all about information. It is balancing analysis, giving topics, using facts and statistics. Now mostly they compare and contrast. There is a cause and effect kind of writing. There is a how-to process or the how-to. They all are expository because they give you facts and how something works. Now the last one, the fourth one, is persuasive. Convince me. Now this type of writing is used in mostly in academics and in debates. Now you try to give your point, having evidence and trying to make a logical connection with the declaration you made. Now you're trying to convince someone with facts and evidences. You can take court cases. This would be considered persuasive writing. Okay, now let's take an example question that might appear on the national exam. This is just an example, but most questions focus or revolve around this. Now this type of writing uses the 5 senses to give specific details to the reader. Now think of senses. Which one uses senses? Especially the 5 senses, the seeing, the imagining and everything. Now in this case we said that descriptive tries to paint a picture. Now that is the closest to the 5 senses, so C would be the right answer. An article on how to find the best deals while shopping online. What type of writing is it? Now here, how to find the best deal is trying to tell you how to do something. So in this case A would be the best answer because expository writing deals with how to do something something, or it tells you what something is with classification and how to do things. Now the other part of the writing question deals with essay questions. Now what you need to understand about essay question is that you have to understand the structure of a basic, the usual essay type. Now essay is a writing that has at least 5 paragraphs. Now the first and the last being introduction and conclusion. The body part has 3 sentences, 3 paragraphs. Introduction. Now the introduction is a paragraph that gives a background to the story or the statement you want to talk about in your essay, and then it gives hooks. Now hook is normally the type of writing or sentence that tries to relate to the reader. It tries to grab the attention of the readers. Now this statement is the topic, the main idea or the claim you're trying to make, the thing, the topic you're trying to explain. Now the body part, 3 paragraph with topic sentence and explaining evidence. Now this body paragraph, it serves as explaining or proving your thesis statement. Those 3 paragraphs, they use a particular method. They each explain one topic which is in their topic sentences, and then with evidences to support them. Now when you complete, there's the last part is the conclusion, which is 1 paragraph. It begins by summarizing the whole idea. When you summarize, the best way is to always give a main point of the whole thing explained in the body and the introduction. Now if possible, it ends with recommendation and suggestion. The recommendation is you recommend people or the reader if they wanted to study further studying, or if it is a problem you raised, then you suggest, you recommend a solution with your analysis. The suggestion would be a further study. Everything might not be complete. Always you end up with this problem. You have to explain what can be further studied on this topic. Now, after seeing this, we can deal with some examples of essay questions. What are the 3 parts of a thesis? Now, topic sentence, opinion, and reason. Now, there are 3 parts. Thesis is normally the first sentence, the first paragraph is considered thesis, or thesis is the topic that you're dealing with, as we said before. Now, take a look. Topic, opinion, and reason. Now, of course, it is an opinion. It's not a fact because you're declaring something. It's your idea which would be supported with reasons, but the reason is in the details. Now see, you have hook, opinion, evidence. Again, there is evidence and reason are part of the body paragraph. B, topic, reason, evidence. You have topic, reason, and evidence here. And D, hook, evidence, and reason. Now here, what thesis refers to the first introduction sentence. Now the introduction sentence needs to have a background, your opinion, which is the main topic, and a hook. Now evidences might come at last, so the choice that doesn't have evidence is A. So A would meet our need. It describes the introduction, so that could be our thesis paragraph. Okay, the second question, what are the parts of a body paragraph? Now we said that there is a topic sentence with we say there is a detail. Those details could be evidences or supporting ideas. Now let's take a look. Topic sentence, of course. Background sentences. Background is in the first thesis paragraph, introduction paragraph, so it cannot be in the body paragraph. Now B, hook, background sentence. Now here we have background again, so this makes B our wrong choice. C, topic sentence, supporting sentences, and closing sentences. Now this would be our perfect answer because each body paragraph has topic sentence, supporting sentences, which are evidences, and of course a paragraph has to be closed with a conclusion sentence. Now C is our answer. Take a look at D. It has hook. Hook is used in the introduction sentence. That makes D wrong answer. What are the 2 needed ways to provide evidence? Now in writing essay, how do you provide evidence? A, listing and quoting. Quoting, of course, but listing is not the part of evidence. Paraphrasing and summarizing. Now this could be possible. Let's see. B is quoting and summarizing. D, quoting and paraphrasing. Now it's advised not to directly quote, rather paraphrase the whole thing. So choices with quoting are totally wrong. A, B, and D C are the wrong answer, but C suggests that paraphrasing, one, which is right, and summarizing, this is concluding the idea. So C would be our answer. A typical introduction includes A, hook, background information, and thesis. B, hook, background information, topic sentences. C, context, hook, and thesis. D, hook, topic sentence. Now, this is a repeated kind of answer. Previously, we dealt with thesis paragraph. Now, introduction here always has a background, hook, and thesis. Now, trying to see B, topic sentences are not needed in this case. It's used in the body. C, context, hook, thesis. Context is not actually needed. If you give background information, that would help explain the whole thing. D, hook, and topic sentence. Topic sentences, as we said, it is used in the body part. So A is the perfect structure of the introduction part. Now for the last time, let's see question about introduction. The introductory paragraph has 3 parts. Which of the following is not part of the paragraph? Now this is the same question as the previous one. Now try to see thesis, direct quote, background, hook. Now the question says which one of the following is not part of. Now in the previous question we said that hook, background information, and thesis is part of the introduction. So easily you can identify that thesis, background, and hook are part, but B says direct quote, which belongs to the body part. So B would be the one that doesn't belong to an introduction paragraph. Dear students, so far we've tried to cover some tips and strategies that would help you for the reading and the writing section of the exam. I hope you find this useful. On our next program, we'll cover some tips on other sections of the national exam. Till then, good luck with the preparation.